The boardroom was so quiet you could hear Karen's acrylic nails tapping against her Yeti tumbler. She was staring at the number glowing on the projector screen like it had personally insulted her. $5,000? She said, her voice quivering with rage. Who approved this outrageous increase in HOA fees? I leaned back in my chair and gave her the calmest smile I could manage. You did, Karen, I said. The moment you fined me $1,000 for swimming in my own lake. Let me rewind. My name's Eric. I've lived in Cedar Point Lakes for 7 years. Beautiful place, quiet, scenic, and full of those picture-perfect homes people dream about. But the reason I bought my property, the lake, that glimmering, mirror-like stretch of water came with my deed. That's right, part of the lake was privately owned. My property extended 20 feet into the water line, and I had the survey papers to prove it. It was my slice of heaven. Morning swims, late-night paddles, and a private dock that I built with my own 2 hands. For years, the HOA and I had a peaceful truce. They handled the neighborhood parties and lawn inspections. I stayed out of their way. Even let them use a small patch of shoreline for community events. But then came Karen, the new HOA president, the kind of woman who treated bylaws like scripture and considered smiling a sign of weakness. She introduced herself at the annual picnic wearing a navy blue blazer with a gold name tag and a clipboard under one arm like she was running for governor. And within a week, the warning letters started. Grass too tall, trash bins visible from the street, bird feeder inviting wildlife. But the real war didn't begin until that hot July morning. I was out on the lake, floating peacefully on my back, not bothering anyone, just watching the clouds drift above me. Then I heard it. "Excuse me, sir." Even before I opened my eyes, I knew who it was. Karen stood on the shore, her blazer still buttoned in the 95-degree heat, clipboard in hand like a weapon. "You need to exit the water immediately," she barked. "Why?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Swimming in HOA-governed bodies of water is strictly prohibited under Regulation 8.2.1, she said. "You need prior board approval and proof of insurance." I swam a little closer, just enough to hear her better, but not enough to risk being arrested by the clipboard. "Karen, I own this part of the lake," I said. "It's on my deed. You can literally see where the property line cuts across the water." "The lake borders HOA land," she snapped. "That makes it a shared natural resource and therefore under HOA jurisdiction." "That's not how property law works." She didn't budge. "Consider this your first and final warning." I thought she'd drop it after cooling down, but nope. 3 days later, I received a certified letter. HOA violation. Unauthorized water use fine, $1,000. They even attached a blurry photo of me in the lake like I was some kind of fugitive. I tried reasoning. I made copies of my deed, highlighted the property lines and dropped them off at Karen's door along with a 30-year-old survey and a letter from the previous HOA president confirming my private lake rights. She didn't even glance at them. "The board has ruled," she said. "What board meeting?" I asked. "Emergency session," she said with a satisfied grin. Translation? Karen, her best friend Janet, and someone's golden retriever probably voted on it over frappuccinos at Starbucks. The letters kept coming. Every few days, another threat, another violation. At one point, she claimed I was creating a hazardous aquatic zone. Then rumors started flying. A neighbor asked me if I was opening a lake-themed amusement park. Another wanted to know if I was dumping chemicals in the water. That's when I decided to stop reacting and start retaliating. I spent the next 2 weeks diving into HOA documents, bylaws, easements, contracts, anything I could find. And buried deep in a dusty old file, I found it. An easement agreement from 1999. It granted the HOA permission to use a gravel road and a small beach on my land for community access. But here's the kicker. The agreement expired after 25 years unless renewed. And guess what year it was? 2024. Nobody had renewed it, which meant the HOA had been trespassing on my property for over 6 months. My lawyer double-checked the legalities and just laughed. She fined you for using your own lake while her HOA is illegally using your land, he said. Oh, this is going to be fun. So I waited. At the next HOA meeting, I signed up for public comment. Karen ran the meeting like a courtroom drama, complete with a gavel and a projector. When she finally called my name, she didn't hide her annoyance. I stood, leather folder in hand, and walked to the front. Madam President, I began, mimicking her tone, I'm here to address the lapsed easement agreement between the HOA and my property. She blinked. What easement? I passed out copies to every board member. As of January 1st, the HOA has been using my land, specifically the beach and maintenance road, without legal authorization. A collective murmur rolled through the room. Karen's face flushed crimson. This is absurd, she said. My attorney has drafted a new lease agreement, I continued. You may continue to use the property for a reasonable annual fee of $5,000. Gasps. Someone actually dropped their water bottle. 5,000? Market rate, I said. I got 3 independent quotes. I'm even giving you a discount. Karen's jaw dropped. You can't do this. Actually, I said, sliding the lease agreement across the table, I can. You have 30 days. After that, I'll be installing a locked gate across the access road. The fallout was immediate. The next day, the neighborhood Facebook group exploded. Suddenly, I wasn't the villain in the lake. I was the guy standing up to Karen. People demanded an emergency budget review. The treasurer tried to plead with me privately. Karen? She threatened more fines, claimed historical use rights, even tried to file something with the county. None of it stuck. Finally, with 2 days left, the HOA called a real emergency meeting. The community center was packed. People brought lawn chairs. Someone brought popcorn. Karen sat at the head of the table, visibly rattled. The vote? 4-1 in favor of approving the new lease. Karen was the lone no. The best part? Because of the lease, everyone's HOA fees went up, about $160 a year. And guess who they blamed? Yep, Karen. The memes started. Someone photoshopped her holding her clipboard on a sinking ship. One neighbor printed t-shirts with "I'd let Eric swim." Within a week, a recall petition started. It didn't take long. Karen was removed by a landslide. 87% voted against her. HOA history. The new board? They mailed me an apology, refunded my $1,000 fine, plus interest. We renegotiated the lease to a symbolic $500 a year, just for the paperwork. I installed a new sign on my dock. Private property, swim free. Underneath, in tiny letters, HOA presidents not welcome. As for Karen, she sold her house a month later, moved to a development 3 towns over. I like to think she walked in clipboard first, and me? I still swim every morning. Every backstroke a little sweeter than the last. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't petty,